Now, our next guest taught me something. The best part of life is when you can take the lessons that have been put in front of you and you actually learn from them. In her new book, executive and TV and radio star Bevy Smith is sharing lessons from, as she calls it, a mother, auntie, and a bestie. Her book is called Bevelations, and Bevy joins me now from her beloved home. How many B's can I use? In Harlem, New York. Good to see you. Congratulations on this book.
Thank you, my Tamron. I'm so happy to be here with you. The last time we were here was not the happiest occasion, but it's great to be here to talk about Bevelations.
You mentioned that, and Bevy was one of our first guests at the beginning of the pandemic who talked about the crisis in nursing home care. You lost your father to COVID. He and your mother had been together for decades, and you came on. And I think about, as I text you all the time, I think about your parents and that love that they shared, which brings me to the book, because you've learned so much about love, about womanhood from that foundational relationship of your parents.
Yes, I did. As I lovingly called them, the Smitties. I grew up in a really lovely household. I was the baby of the bunch. And I grew up in Harlem, which a lot of people don't know. It's a great community. I learned so much about resilience and tenacity from my community. And also, I have to tell you, Tamron, one of the best things I learned about Harlem is to love who you are and to be proud of your culture. So when I had to go into the very all-white environments of fashion, luxury fashion, and advertising, I didn't come to those spaces feeling like I was at a deficit. I understood who I was. I understood what my culture meant to the greater world.
Well, take people
And so
back
I
to
think
that. I want to go back to that, Bevy, because a lot of people don't know how you started. They know, you from social media and Fashion Queens and all of these TV shows. But going back, you were one of the pioneering women behind the scenes in fashion and music and hip hop. You've worked with them all, Puffy and the long list of them.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so I started out my career in fashion advertising, and it was really a heady time. It was a time when hip hop had first started going mainstream. And so, as you mentioned, I talk about Tupac in the book a lot because Tupac was a friend of mine, and he was actually one of the kindest, sweetest people. And one of the things that we bonded on, Tamron, is that we both were hiding behind our bravado and kind of like our swagger. But when we would get together, we would talk about literature. We would talk about Black rights, and things like that.
Well,
So we
you
were
talk
able.
about hiding behind the bravado. Listen, people know you are alive and in living color in that hot pink
Yes.
outfit. I always say, Bevy, do you know a turtleneck you've ever liked? She's like, no, honey, this is me. And that's a big part of the lessons you share, because as I keep pointing out, the book is Lessons from a Mother. You don't have children of your own. You are not married. And you have not allowed people to put those labels on you. That's not the lessons you are trying to learn in life, and you're sharing that with other women.
Yes, I am. And I think it's important for women to find themselves. It's incredible to be in a loving partnership as you are, Tamron. But one of my mantras is it gets greater later. And look at how you had to wait on your love, the love of your life. You had to wait on baby Moses. And so I think that while women are waiting perhaps for that love of their life and for perhaps to have children, we should be developing ourselves. And I think that's the reason why you were able to attract your husband and to have this loving union where you produce little Moses.
How
But
do you
I think not
explain?
enough of us do the inner work.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think, how do you explain at this age the lessons that you've learned? Because at the time that they're happening, you're, as you pointed out, in this male-dominated hip-hop world of bravado, and you go in, and they all remember Bevy. You then go into TV, radio, all of these points of media where folks don't always look like the two of us, and you're still Bevy. What is the lesson now at your age that you share, again, with all women, no matter where they are in their personal lives?
Well, authenticity is key in life. Nobody can be you but you. So you should show up in full totality of who you are and who you were born to be. And that's what I try and practice every single day. I was telling your producers that I just actually did The Moth, which is a really big speaking engagement. Like Malcolm Gladwell has done The Moth, right? And so it's a really big deal. And I was so afraid to do it, Tamron, even though I've conquered all these other things. But I went into The Moth and I did my speaking engagement. It was 12 minutes. You have to memorize the whole thing, but you have to tell this compelling story. And I was really nervous, but I fought through the fear
Yeah.
and I did it anyway. And then I came out on the other side and I was victorious. And sometimes we just have to face our fears,
Yeah.
but we also have to know that even if we're not victorious, there's a lesson in that
Yeah.
failure.
Yeah, and the lesson is that it just gets greater later, and that is something that you say over and over, and you're living
Yeah.
example of it. I'm so proud of you. This book is a fantastic read, a fantastic gift for any girlfriend in your life. Bevelations, Lessons from a Mother, Auntie, and Bestie. Thank you so much, Bevy, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamron. I love you
And
and I
by the way,
appreciate
the
you.
book is available now, and our entire virtual audience, my besties, are each going home with their digital copy of Bevy's new book.